Hello and welcome to the Modern Digital Enterprise, the digital transformation podcast from Anexinet. Today we'll be talking about the importance of connected customer experiences. Anexinet General Manager and Executive VP Al Sporer will be our guest host. So without further ado, take it away, Al.
Thanks for joining us on the topic of connected customer experiences and why it's so important today. I'm your host today, Al Sporer. I'm the General Manager and Executive Vice President of Anexinet Digital. Anexinet is a leading technology firm that holistically looks at digital transformation, everything from front-end interactions to your back-end infrastructure to run it on. And with me today is Steve Tranchida, our Senior Vice President of Digital Transformation. Steve, I'll let you go ahead and give your background.
Yeah, thanks, Alan. Great to be with you today. I've been helping companies with what is now called digital transformation for going towards 30 years, and continuous change in the environment and keeping up with that change, especially with the landscape today, is something I'm really passionate about helping clients navigate and be successful at.
Great. Thanks, Steve, and looking forward to the conversation. So let's start out with some definitions for the crowd here. So how do you define connected customer experience, and what do you mean by that when you talk about it to your clients?
Yeah, sure. One thing you could do is start with, the general flow of the customer, right? So, it's attract, acquire, service, and then retain is kind of a standard flow of the customer. And really it's connecting all of those pieces in a seamless manner with data, with digital interactions, with in-person interactions when you can, and that whole journey, and having it just be very connected and seamless from end to end. I think today we're going to talk a lot about kind of the back half of that chain, which is kind of servicing the customer, and then the retention and loyalty that we want to build as a supplement to the great customer service. So we'll focus a little bit on that today, but all in all, it's just so important today when you have limited brick and mortar face-to-face interactions. The question that businesses are struggling with, Al, is how do you continue to provide great service and then drive that retention and loyalty in an era where, at least at the moment, it's you really do have some limited physical interactions.
Yeah, and I think what we hear from a lot of our customers, especially on that back half, in people that we talk to in the industry, is that back half and taking friction out of the journey and really retaining your customers and providing an excellent experience on the back half of the journey has never been more important. So can you talk a little bit why it's so important and what you see some of our clients and customers doing around that back half of that journey and some of the initiatives that they're taking today?
Yeah, sure. One of the key business metrics around the back half of that flow is traditionally customer lifetime value, as you know, Al. And customer lifetime value has been around a long time as a concept. It's a measure of how much profit you expect to receive from a customer in some time period, typically annually, right? Times the average duration of that customer is going to stay with you and continue to be a customer and continue to utilize your services and solutions. So, measuring that gives you some kind of business metric for the power of the back half of that chain, the servicing and the retention and loyalty side. Customer acquisition costs are high. It's not easy to win over new customers in a lot of different industries and businesses. And so when you do a good job with that and you do end up with a customer that you're providing goods and services to, you want to maximize the value of that relationship over time and not have to, continue to go back with the acquisition costs in order to stay even or grow. So that retention and loyalty and great service is just so important. So we think about customer lifetime value, Al, in this context. And we also think more and more as we transform here about creating a mutually beneficial kind of relationship with the customer. Clients that use customer lifetime value as a metric could fall into a trap of saying, well, a customer is just something I want to extract value from. And no, that's just one way to measure it, but really it's a mutually beneficial lifetime value where if you do right by the customer, if you provide them with great experiences, great interactions, a cut above service, they're also going to be an advocate for you. They're going to spread the word, word of mouth, social media. That's harder to measure Al, in a formula, like a customer lifetime value formula, but it really is part of the equation as well. So we kind of encourage customers to look at that holistic picture when they talk about connected customer experience.
Yeah, that's super important, Steve. And it's kind of funny. We, at least our side of the business on Anexinet, really focuses on the digital and the applications that we build, the strategy we build around that. But when you really think about today's environment and all the different touch points that a client might have, and whether that's a call center or calling in or a chatbot, can you talk a little bit about what a connected customer means to us when we talk about multi-channel, and what that journey should look like, and what we really see the demands from clients and their customers today around that multi-channel journey?
Yeah, definitely. A lot of the effort when we talk about connected customer experience goes into helping customers self-serve, right? Also giving them tools and ways to engage in a self-service manner that are really convenient for them and really, really smart around how they want to engage. And so to do that great self-service, to provide those types of options, you really have to focus on the full customer journey, right? So the end-to-end journey that they're going to go through to engage with you, to do business with you, to get support, and then make sure that you're giving them an optimal way to engage at every step in that journey. That's not going to be the same for every customer. Some customers will want to engage in one way, other customers will want to engage in a different way. And so you have to have multiple options for every stage of the journey. And where a lot of companies start to fall down is they'll cover some stages in the journey and give you self-service options on a web app or a mobile app, but they don't provide the holistic end-to-end digital self-service capabilities. And so when there's gaps in self-service ability across a journey, you're only going to be as satisfied as the worst part of that journey, right? You're going to remember the piece of the journey where you had to get in the car and go somewhere when you wanted to just do it online, or you had to call and wait on hold when you wanted to just pull out your mobile app. So, connected customer experience is making sure you give them great self-service options across the entire journey that they want to go through to engage with you.
That's great, Steve. And, I think we talk a lot and some of the things that we see from our clients, their customers, highest value and I think greatest lifetime value, have a lot of those different edge cases that we talk about sometimes, and that are not necessarily in that customer self-service. So do you have any tips on what it takes to create that great, we'll call it customer 360, or what some of our clients should be looking at, or what the folks out there who are listening to this, some of the key is really to build that incredibly good connected customer experience?
It's not easy, and it's getting more challenging because the expectations keep going up about what a great experience means. But you said something interesting there. You introduced kind of a new term, at least to this conversation, called customer 360. And I do think that's a key to this whole equation. So what is customer 360? It's having a complete rounded out view of each individual customer, knowing them, knowing how they want to work based on their past activity, based on a full profile of information you may have about them, and based on context. So it's not enough to just build one great path through a mobile application to place an order, for example. You want to actually have more intelligent digital engagements where you're taking into account context. What time of day? What's the geography? What's the weather like outside? What are the last 4 purchases the customer made or searches the customer made? And then you can bring actual proactive context to the interactions that you have with them. So that customer 360 is really all about data and analytics. And when you do a great job building embedded data and analytics into your digital interactions, you end up with smarter experiences that can be more proactive, offer up next best actions, and always kind of understand where the customer is within a journey.
That's super important. That's what we see, and you and I talk all day to customers, and that's what we see them asking for. A couple of things that just jump out when you talked about context, content, usage, being proactive, a lot of good things in there, but doing that's pretty hard to make that happen. So what are the opportunities that you see out there? Maybe 3 to 5 opportunities that you see that some of our clients are taking advantage in? How do they get started to take advantage of the things that we can offer today? But what are some of those opportunities that you see that you can do to drive a solution like this that creates great customer experience?
In terms of getting started, I mean, that's the first kind of hurdle you have to overcome. We see a lot of companies that go into kind of analysis paralysis right up front, right? Because it's complicated. And to build that 360 capability out, to build it in such a way that it's almost real-time updating, to be able to build these complex digital systems that I just talked about, it's all a difficult proposition. And you can quickly get bogged down in spending months just trying to analyze what to do first, what to do second, and how to approach this. So the first piece of advice I would give is have sort of a methodology within your organization to rapidly drive to executable decisions. And that's not specific to connected customer experience, but it's really important with regards to connected customer experience initiatives, is saying, okay, here are the key business drivers that we are trying to achieve. Here are the customer self-service features and capabilities that we think are going to drive the most value and organizationally we're the most ready for. And that's going to be version 1.0. But build a roadmap for those other pieces and do that fairly rapidly and then execute and iterate. Like, don't wait, get started and release iteratively. So that's point number one, Al.
Let me stop you there because I know you have 2 more, but the thing that we talk about and we talk to our clients about the decision paralysis a lot is the underlying technology is changing so fast. So, and I don't know if your next point is talking about the infrastructure or not, but how do you start building an infrastructure that you can iterate on, and instead of just waiting for the next great thing coming on? How do you make those decisions quickly, and how do you build a future-proofed infrastructure?
Yeah, having that foundation to continue to build and iterate is going to be really important. We see companies bogged down with legacy architecture, with kind of monolithic infrastructures where if you do a release, it's kind of has to be a big bang because everything's tightly coupled. All those things are headwinds to doing what we're talking about, Al. So in terms of infrastructure and readiness, enterprise architecture modernization, I think, is one of the foundational steps here that are going to really enable this continuous connected customer experience process and journey. So, assessing your architecture, understanding where you have monoliths, where you don't have loosely coupled independent things like microservices, assessing where your data is not well integrated and doesn't flow in enough of a real-time manner across different systems and touch points and people. You need to take a hard look at that and then put together a roadmap for building that modern digital architecture foundation that's going to power these connected customer experiences.
And Steve, in our experience, making those decisions can be done fairly quickly, correct?
Absolutely, Al. We have tools, for example, that we use, things like scenario matrix tools, where you put together all the possible options for building as part of your roadmap, and you quickly weigh them against a preset criteria. And you do that quickly and methodically, and you start to see the things that should come first kind of bubble to the top very quickly, right? So having tools like that, and then being able to justify decisions that have been made by always going back to, well, here's kind of the value prop that we tied it to. Here's the business value and metrics that we tied the decision to. You're not afraid to make a decision and move forward. You're not paralyzed by that, by getting it wrong. And sometimes you will get it wrong, but having some sort of rapid ideation and rapid decision-making methodology helps you quickly establish that roadmap and move forward.
Great. And I know you had a third point in there that I cut you off on, but I'll let you provide your third point before we move on to the next topic.
Oh, yeah, sure. I think the other point that I want to make sure people don't forget about, we talk about connected customer experience and digital self-service, and most people think about, well, I got to build a great UI. I got to understand the customer journey and kind of do day in the life studies of a customer. And all those things are really important, really critical. But the one thing we're seeing a lot of companies forget about is there's an internal employee empowerment piece to this puzzle as well. And it's really symbiotic with great customer experiences. In other words, if you don't empower your employees with the tools and the information that they need, especially those employees really close to the customer, again, that's going to become the weak point in the chain of that customer journey, from attraction to acquiring to service to retention. So The third piece is making sure that you have the right tools and data and information for the folks in your organization who are either close to the customer or even in a back office sense, a critical cog in a customer workflow. You want to empower them and build the right tools for them as well.
So if I heard that right, the 3 steps are make quick decisions, ensure that you have the right architecture in place, and then ensure that you have connected employees as part of that journey along with the design of what you're doing. So did I catch those 3 things right, Steve?
You listened well. Those really are 3 really important keys to this.
That's awesome. That's what we hear from a large majority of our clients say, what they're asking us to help them with. All right, so final question for today's session. Are there any trends that you're seeing, especially I would say over the last 60, 90, 120 days that are emerging as things that our clients are asking for that you're seeing in the marketplace that you want to just let people know around connected experiences and what you're seeing out there?
Definitely. There are some things that we're seeing becoming emphasized more in kind of the COVID era, Al, and they're not really new things, but they're things that all of a sudden have become a lot more important and a focus of emphasis. So for example, things like virtualized shopping experiences is an interesting area that a lot of companies are looking at. Being able to give virtual tours of either your stores or the way that you build solutions for them, and having them be able to interact with you digitally through intelligent chats along the way, incorporating video, incorporating chat and advanced social features like that. Those have become, I would say, increased emphasis in some of the connected customer experience initiative plans that we're seeing today. Maybe those were a little further along in the roadmap several months ago, but now they're kind of getting bubbled to the top. The push around data is another one. None of these digital experiences are possible without advanced analytics. And so things are getting pushed to the forefront around intelligent applications, all the advanced analytics behind driving more intelligent applications. Listening to and gathering data from a lot of different sources, from social media to application usage itself to your CRM system, and bringing all that together very rapidly and bubbling it through the digital applications so you can be contextual and predictive in what you want to suggest for your customers to do. Last one, UI UX patterns. Conversational UX, Al, is getting some traction as well. So when you're designing these interfaces for your customers, having it be less about which menu bar do you click and path through an application. It's more about trying to make using a digital application more similar to having a conversation with somebody that's pleasant, that reinforces when you accomplish part of the equation. All those pieces. It's not a substitute for in-person interaction, but making it a lot more conversational and less robotic. And thinking about that in the way you design user interfaces, I think is important.
That's all great trends that we see, Steve, and I appreciate your thoughts and your sharing your knowledge on this topic. So with that, I think we'll call it an end to today's session. I hope everybody enjoyed really the knowledge and the sharing that you provided around connected experiences and connected customers today, Steve, and really look forward to the next time that we can get together and talk about our next topic. So everybody stay safe and healthy. Thank you.
Thanks, Al. Good to be with you.
Well, that's great, guys. Thanks a lot for squaring that up and tying off the loose ends and putting it all together. And thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Modern Digital Enterprise, the digital transformation podcast from Anexinet, part of the Anexinet podcast network. Be safe, be healthy. Bye-bye.
As a leading technology consultancy and reseller, Anexinet helps clients provide a complete digital experience for customers, employees, and end users. We accomplish this through our holistic approach, which encompasses all aspects of today's digital journey, end-to-end. Anexinet partners with top technology vendors like HPE to offer products and services that enhance the digital experience across customer engagement, enterprise mobility, cloud and hybrid IT, and analytics. Because great digital experiences rely on the smooth operation of all interconnected elements. From strategy through execution, we deliver custom multi-channel applications, including web, mobile, chat, and voice. With self-service apps for customer loyalty and enterprise apps that streamline internal processes, now you can reimagine legacy applications to propel your business forward. Anexinet also helps you embrace modern cloud and hybrid IT infrastructure to provide a seamless experience at every touchpoint, empowering you to recover quickly from disaster, scale to meet demand, and automate systems for perfect performance 24/7. And to maximize your competitive advantage, we ensure you always deliver the best experience possible by continuously honing your digital solutions through data-driven insights. So, how do you know if your business has what it takes to provide the complete digital experience? One that sets you apart, maintains competitive edge, and turns users into passionate fans? Simple. Just give us a call. Together, we can deepen engagement and make every digital experience remarkable.